Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Philip McMillan, and I am here to educate you about the importance of nitric oxide. I keep on raising the awareness of this because it is such a simple yet important strategy in terms of potentially managing COVID 19. Many people don't even know what it's about. And because it's so important, we actually wrote a whole book with images called Humming Heroes, which we got to number one on Amazon. But what I'm highlighting more than anything is the principle of the science around it. And so, what we want you to do right from the start is that we want you to join us in this scientific discovery. Join us at the newsletter. The link is in the description below. Click on it. When you enter your email, you'll be given access to the newsletter. It is absolutely free. And critically, this is what the newsletter looks like. It's actually quite impressive. It's in collaboration with Lumientia and some really stunning images that go along with it. This is the most recent one that has been done today, looking at obesity as the main topic. These are some of the other topics that we've done over the past few months. We are planning to make this one of the best newsletters you can ever be subscribed to. That is the aim. And so, with that in mind, don't just believe what we are saying. Look really at our testimonials. When you see our testimonials on the landing page, by far the best and bravest medical related newsletter I've ever read. So we've had some great testimonials so far. We want you to join in this process. It is absolutely free. There is no excuse not to join it. That's how I'll be able to give you access to critical pieces of information. And one of the most important things that I'm doing that for is so that you can get access to this very important document, Nitric Oxide and the Sinuses. This is a book that we had put together. It's a short ebook, and it's really just focused on the sinuses and the importance of nitric oxide, which I'm going to take you through some of the science around it. But this little ebook, which you will get for free when you subscribe to the newsletter, is covering a number of important points. It's only 30 pages long, so it's not very big, but looking at the characteristics of the sinus, talking about nitric oxide, breathing exercises, environmental influences, research into it. So it's covering a number of very, very important areas that need to be dealt with. So I am bringing the science to the table and trying to make sure that you have a good understanding of it. For those people who are more scientifically inclined, what you will find here is that we have got the references. So these are all the references at the end of this, which are explaining what nitric oxide is, how it relates to health, really important information. Your responsibility is to make sure that you sign up to this newsletter. And so that's what I want you to do. Listen, people don't understand how high the COVID is circulating at the moment because the symptoms are relatively mild. And one of the perceptions that people have is that because symptoms are relatively mild, it means that the disease is mild. Well, I'll give you an analogy so that you can understand it. HIV, when you first get it, only creates minor symptoms within 4 weeks. If you leave that alone, you will therefore end up with severe disease down the line. Just because the symptoms are mild doesn't mean that the disease is mild. So let's get back to the science here, and I'm just sharing with you some ideas. Essentially, we have nitric oxide. It's different from nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is an anesthetic agent, laughing gas. That's not what nitric oxide is. It's slightly different, and this is what it looks like. And this is what the body uses. Critically, it's a gas. So it's not like a peptide or anything. It's a gas. It's one of our most important signaling molecules that operates as a gas. And it has a specific enzyme, nitric oxide synthase, that makes it from arginine, which is just an amino acid. You get the nitric oxide, which diffuses out to nearby cells and has its effect. It has an extremely short half life. And therefore the body critically needs good amount of stores of it. And this is the critical bit why I want people to understand the science around nitric oxide. It has multiple effects on various parts of the body, and this is what it would look like. This is the amount of things that it does, nitric oxide. It acts in the brain as a neurotransmitter, has an impact on clotting, reduces inflammation just through acting with some of the immune cells, intracellular signaling, helps with wound healing, oxidative stress, sexual function. This is what Viagra is operating around with regards to increasing nitric oxide to get erections, vascular homeostasis. It protects the whole system. This is an incredible molecule, and this is why I'm highlighting it so much, because it has an impact. When you understand that the virus gets into our body through the upper airways, there's no other route. It infects the upper airways, breaks through the mucosal immune barrier in some people, spreads in the bloodstream, primarily to the intestines, and then continues to spread into the brain, to the kidneys, to the heart. Anything that can prevent or reduce the risk is critically important. So, this is why I'm talking about nitric oxide. Most people don't realize that one of the most important locations for nitric oxide is the sinuses in the head. And this is what your sinuses look like. You can see this is the frontal sinus, ethmoidal sinuses. This here is the maxillary sinus, the sphenoid sinus, which is sitting just underneath your pituitary gland at the center of the brain. And essentially, these areas, if filled with nitric oxide, they have an antibacterial and antiviral effect. And this is how they can protect you from getting infected with COVID-19. It's not an absolute protection, but the point is, when you have high levels of nitric oxide in these sinuses, it's very difficult for a virus to infect. And one of the things that many people are not aware of is that Omicron is different from the earlier variants, and probably because of the entry mechanism. Omicron has a 7 to 10 times higher predilection for sinuses. And this is why you'll find a lot of people have sinus issues at the moment, because of the fact that Omicron tends to sit in sinuses. And so, therefore, if you have no effective way, and this is really important if mucosal immunity is damaged, if you're having repeated COVID infections, this is absolutely critical in terms of protecting you. I cannot explain how important this is. This is why we wrote a whole book on it. This whole area, you just have to imagine that this is filled like a balloon with nitric oxide. And what it will do is it will dampen or prevent viral replication in these areas, because this is where Omicron's virus tends to hide. And this is why I have found, when I look at the research, a lot of people don't actually clear the virus. And this is quite serious. Why is this so important? And it's all linked to the fact that I am looking out for storm. This is something I've been presenting on for some time. This here is representative of spike triggered autoimmune response mechanism. I have been trying to emphasize just how important that is in the context of what we're likely to see later in the pandemic. This mechanism where people get infected, and then the infection, once the virus gets into the systemic circulation, what would then happen is that you have triggering of immune responses that can lead to more disease down the line. The mistake has been that people assume that because that early phase of the disease is mild, that they are not having immune responses down the line. Huge mistake. Do not underestimate this virus. And I think part of the problem is that people think that it's operating like a normal coronavirus. This thing is a beast of a virus. I have never seen anything like this, and I've been studying it for 4 years now. The capabilities of this virus are beyond anything that I have ever seen in the context of research. When you realize, and I had done this recently with regards to bacteria in the gut, this is why you're able to measure it in wastewater, in stool. This virus has the capacity to be able to replicate in stool. This is unbelievable. It seems to have bacteriophage properties as well as human viral properties. Unbelievable capabilities. Do not underestimate it. The challenge is you've got to prevent it from breaking through your mucosal barrier. Just to finally mention a few other points about nitric oxide, as I said, it's antiviral. It's also antibacterial. So if you have sinus issues, just increasing the nitric oxide in those sinuses will have an impact. Neurotransmission in the brain, anti-tumor effect, vasodilation, helps with clotting, inflammation. All of these are critical aspects around COVID-19. You have got to make sure that you're as protected as you can. Why is it so important? Because you can increase it just by humming. That's the point that people don't realize. When you look at many ancient religions and their chanting and so on, even singing impacts on nitric oxide and increases the concentration in the sinuses. This is by far the simplest, most valuable technique that everyone can do. This is why I wanted this to become such an important piece of information to spread across the world. Share it with your friends. The ebook is free. Show them the science, educate people about it, and critically, make sure that you have signed up for the newsletter. The link is in the description below. That's how you get access to the free ebook. All I'm asking in exchange for this valuable information is your email address. And what you will get in exchange for giving me your email address is access to this critical archive of newsletters. Join us in this scientific journey. Make sure that you are well educated, well prepared, that you can handle all the moves that are going to happen in the near future. This is not over. There is still a long way to go with regards to this virus and this pandemic. Those who are prepared, those who are thinking, those who are looking for answers are likely to be in the best position. Have a great evening.